Hello and welcome to this episode of the Complete Guide to Creating Epic Campaigns. We are, of course, creating a campaign for the game that I'm running on the Save or Dice YouTube channel. The link is below. Now, the idea here is that you're going to see how I came up with this campaign. I'm going to take you through the steps using tables that are outlined in my book, which is coming out shortly. Well, certainly at the time of this video, which is now in August. Hopefully it'll be out by the end of September, if not earlier than that. So the idea here is that I'm using these tables to talk you through how I'm going to create the campaign that the Save or Dice players are going through. If you are a Save or Dice player, kindly exit now. Come back and watch these videos after the game. And if you're going to try and watch these and then watch the game and see how it plays out, see how I apply what I have done here into that game, absolutely please come and join us, Save or Dice. I think it airs on Wednesdays or Tuesday nights, depending on where you are in the world, and compare and see. This is what he planned. This is what is actually happening. How is he going to get it back onto plan? Have a look at that. Use that as a reference tool if you like. But please, no spoilers to anybody else in the live stream because it is a live stream. And if you do, I will stop releasing these videos. Or I'll completely change. If I see that, I'm going to completely change the whole thing. And that sort of really doesn't make much sense and it ruins it for everybody else. So watch and smile as you see how I try and herd these cats. These are all great GMs that participate in the Save or Dice game. So they are really masters of their craft, and that is an interesting challenge for someone like myself to make sure that they don't see what I'm doing, but also they're having a lot of fun whilst we're doing it. So in last episode, we came up with our actual sentence, and that sentence is that Gashul, the god of oblivion, wants to reforge the universe in his own image, and to do that, he needs the heart of the god Brax. Now, the heart has been shattered and distributed to 3 locations. One is into a character, into a player character. The other one is into a horse. And then the third one was almost destined to be embedded into a chunk of rock, but it, at the last moment, got how can you say it, sort of bounced out of that crystal. The crystal was impervious to it, and so it's now just lying in its raw state somewhere. Now, Gashul cannot interfere in the prime material plane, the rule of the gods, so that they can't actually physically interfere, but they can send minions to do their bidding. And that introduces the Predashar, which is a specific cult of worshippers of Gashul who are going to try and bring about his apocalypse and who are trying to find these shards. Now, they're having difficulty doing that because although Gashul knows the rough location of the shards, he doesn't know the specific location. The player character, however, who has the shard embedded in his hand or in his arm or in his body, is aware of roughly the location of these shards. It kind of feels a pull towards them. So the players are almost ahead. Now, if they can unite that heart, if they can bring that heart back together again, they will restore the god of light, the god known as Brax, and he will be able to defeat Gashul and reclaim his throne and kind of bring about a universal stability. So that's the campaign story. Our theme is perseverance. So now how do we apply that? How do we now start to work out from that big sentence? How do we now break it down into our actual adventures? Well, we're going to use this table behind me. Now, this table behind me, I'm pointing at my screen, but it's actually behind me, idiot. So the table behind me talks about, and you can see all 4 just barely on the screen. We've got 4 phases. I kind of like to think of things in 4 different phases that we need to work through. And this, because it is only a 3-month campaign, it's a short campaign, I'm actually going to be dropping 2 of these categories. I'm going to drop it down, so we're only working with 2. So we're going to be working with getting stuff, which is our very first one over here, getting stuff, and then we're going to come down to realizing goal down here, which you can barely see. I will move it up once we get to dealing with that. So we're skipping building stuff and we're skipping testing stuff. And the reason why we're skipping those 2 is because we don't have a lot of time. You're going to see just how many adventures suddenly burst out of existence just by doing getting stuff and realizing stuff. Just doing those 2 is going to give us a whole bunch of adventures, and we don't really have that much time. So that is a constraint that I'm working with. If you want to know how to actually fill in these other 2 things, get the book, or I will do more videos on it. It's your call. Leave your comment below. You know what to do. Now, let's jump straight into it. So getting stuff. So adventure number 1. Now, this column here refers to the number of adventures. This is not a hard and fast rule. This is not this is the statement, these are the 10 commandments hereby carved in PDF. It is not that. This is just my general rule of thumb. I like to use 4s just because it allows me to work in some flavor. So adventure number 1, I usually use as an introduction. It gives my players a sense of where they are and what's going on. Adventure 2, 3, and 4 is where they then get the stuff, or the enemy, the villain, in this case, Gashul gets the stuff, and the characters are trying to stop that from happening. Building stuff and testing stuff I'm not going to go through because that is fairly self-explanatory. And then realizing the goal, let me move this up a little bit so that you can see the total effect there. All right. So then we've got realizing stuff right at the bottom, and that's usually 3 adventures. Again, I'm not sure we're going to use these actual numbers because we're only running a 3-month campaign. All right. So back to the top, back to our original idea here. And you'll see there that we've basically got 4 things to do. And I've already kind of discussed them. So we need to establish the situation. We need to establish the initial state of the world. Where do our player characters find themselves? Now, I don't know the player characters yet. I haven't spoken to the players yet. I haven't spoken really very much to them at all. All I know is that I've got to run this game and I've got to run this show. Now, I don't know anything about the characters. That is not important at the moment. It's incredibly important later on. But what's important now is this is our campaign. This is our plot. This is our plot. Characters create story. We as the game masters create plot. So this is our plot. We are plotting out our story. The characters are going to create the story. All right, so we're just plotting out events. This is what's going to happen. Boom, 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 boom. How does that happen? How does it get expressed? Does it get stopped? Does it actually come about? That's up to the players and up to the characters. We're not going to worry about that. So this might look like bad maths, possibly 15 adventures. It actually isn't. It's only half of the story. The other half is the actual character story. So we're looking at a very small space. So by breaking it down step by step, suddenly designing a campaign that's got 30 adventures in it, it's a walk in the park. You've only got to come up with these. So adventure number 1. Adventure number 1 is literally going to be establishing what is happening. Now, that to me speaks of, I need to establish that the gods are fighting amongst themselves, that Gashul has managed to defeat temporarily Brax, and Brax has torn his own heart out and thrown that down to the prime material plane where it has become embedded into the character and a horse and this raw energy which is going to be lying around somewhere. I need to establish that in the very first adventure. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an old trick. I did a series of videos on great ways to start your campaign. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my campaign with a prologue. So the players are actually going to start as gods themselves. They're going to be in this celestial temple, this Mount Olympus, wherever it is that my gods happen to dwell in. I actually don't have a mythological space yet worked out for them. So the god domain, if you like, they're going to be in there. They're going to be watching this battle take place. They're going to see those shards thrown down to the ground. So that is going to give my players all the information that they want. They're going to be playing gods, and I'm going to make sure that they really appreciate the power that the gods have. My theme is perseverance. So that first adventure, we can now write in, and I'm going to do it right now, and I'm doing it on a piece of paper because I'm old school and I like to ponder, but these will be printable and you'll then be able to fill them out as you go along. So adventure 1 is God Showdown and opening of PC location. All right. Now, so God Showdown, that's fine. It's a big battle between Gashul and Brax, and our PCs will be playing some minor demigods that are going to be running around. We're going to use them later as well, because the demigods are actually going to help, or the non-important gods are going to help the PCs later on in the prime material plane. So we're going to use them to kind of create this space. It'll be great. Very dramatic, very kind of, yeah, just going to be a lot of fun. Then we need to establish the PC's location. Now that depends entirely on the PC. So I have to wait until I know what my characters are, my players are. Now, whilst you're doing this, whilst you're coming up with this campaign idea, you should be talking to your players saying, oi, what's the story? What do you want to play in? What type of game do you want to play in? And that's what you should be doing whilst you're doing this. So then you will know, oh, I've got a thief, I've got a wizard, I've got a paladin. Right, I'm going to start them in something cool. So we've got this big dramatic god showdown. Now, it's about perseverance is our theme. So I'm going to want that player location, that player thing to open on a perseverance thing as well. I want the players to really up front get a sense that this is a slog, this is perseverance, they've got to continue, they've got to push, they've got to do, they've got to fight against extreme odds. So I'm thinking that we're going to start them perhaps, and again, it depends on the players and on the characters that they've created, but I'm thinking either we're going to start them, I don't want to battle because we've got the battle going on with the gods, unless we want to mirror the battle going on with the gods down below. That could work too. I'm thinking the character's going to be level 5. So, all right, we're going to start with a battle. I know it's a bit old hat, but we're going to start with a battle. I don't want them started in a room that they're going to try and get out of. I can see that as being very, it's laborious. It's not perseverance. If I can make that differentiator. All right, so battle mirrors heaven. Battle. Okay, great. Good. That's all I'm going to do now. That is literally it. I'm not doing another thing with regards to this first adventure. That's it. And the end of the first adventure, is impaled by shard. Right. That gives me a nice cliffhanger because as the PCs are standing around, they've just overcome through perseverance, whatever battle it is that they're going on. Suddenly, a shard hits them, and now we move on. All right. So carrying on, we then go, all right, so now we've now got our basic idea. We need to start getting the other stuff. We need to get the horse. All right, great. So adventure 2 is the horse. And I'm not going to do more than that. I will not do more than that. Adventure 3, no, let's do it the other way around. So adventure 3 will be the horse. Adventure 2 will be the predator, the hunters. I need to introduce early on that these people are hunting the characters. All right, 3 will be getting the horse, and then 4 will be getting the main plot of unite items. Save world. Easy. Really, really, really easy. Okay, then we go up. And we go to realizing goal, because we're going to do those 3. Right, so now we realize our goal. And that will be, number 1 is usually wrapping up loose ends. Okay, and that you're going to see is actually going to be the PC's loose ends. 2 will be getting to location for climax. And then 3 is the actual climax. There we go. 7 adventures, just like that. We've got 12 sessions. That means we have 4 sessions. Yes, maths. 4 sessions to explore the characters' backstories, to explore the characters' backgrounds, their histories, their character interactions, and that sort of thing. That's fantastic. If we've got 4 players, 4 characters, it sits perfectly. We've got our entire mini campaign worked out in a couple of minutes. What's this? Not even 14 minutes, and we're done. So there we go. Next week, we're going to look at how do we then take these 14 stories, well, these 7 stories to begin with, sorry, these 7 stories, and how do we then translate those into actual adventures? And I think you'll be amazed to see that by the end of it, we sit back and we go, we're ready. We're sorted for a mini campaign that's going to run over 3 months that involves 12 sessions. Anyway, until next time, hit that like button if you think this is worthwhile, if you want me to go on further, and hit the subscribe button if you want to join us and help take over the world of gaming by telling good stories. Anyway, until next time, I wish you the happiest of plotting.